end of watch, the Jake Gyllenhaal and that Spanish guy, Michael, movie. Now, from what I remember seeing in the trailer, now, like, okay, first of all, I never really intended to see this movie at all. Like, it's like if it was on, like, HBO or on, I'm just like, alright, just put it on. It's, like, on. Like, it's one of those movies you don't really have to pay attention to. It's like, it's on, you're like, oh, hey, I can do something over here. Oh, alright. Sweet. You know, one of those kind of movies. You know, we're like, oh, that was kind of entertaining. But, first, they used the word fuck, like, a lot in this movie. And how I saw in the trailer how it was sold at, it was like, it wasn't really like found footage, more like documentary style, but like obviously like where Jake Gyllenhaal just like has his camera on him and all that stuff, and you know a lot of the you see the footage from like the squad car and all that stuff, and like a bit of like the security footage stuff. Okay, fine. But it was mainly just squad car stuff, like dash cam and like handheld. Fine, that's cool. You're a cop that wants to, like, obviously show via your dash cam what you go through, but also, like, on things where you usually you don't really have a camera to go to, or, like, you know, you're not going to drive your car inside an apartment if you want to, I guess. But, you know, you want a film of, like, more action, you know, like, cops filming themselves, so cops doing cops. So, that's fine, like, that's fine. From what I saw with the trailer, it's one of those, you know, like kind of cop movies, but not interesting enough. Alright, but Jake Gyllenhaal, I just don't care. I really don't care for him, you know. And what makes me laugh is like, it's like, alright, so you did Jarhead, so you think you could be in these movies where you could be in uniform and people will buy it. Like, now this one, your head is shaved. Like, I'm so tough. I'm Jake Gyllenhaal. My sister looks like a gerbil, you know? Like, I mean, a squirrel with, like, the cheeks, like chipmunk cheeks. I'm Maggie Gyllenhaal. I got chipmunk cheeks. So, yeah, like, that's how the movie... That's backtracking. That's how the movie is sold. Like, it's, you know, documentary style kind of thing. Fine. Like, I had to go to bed early because I had to work the next day, like, really early. So we were only, like, probably 20 minutes into the movie. And the next day when I was at work, I kept thinking over and over again about the third camera that just appeared out of nowhere. Just like in The Devil Inside, where they're in the asylum room talking to the mother, and there's the security footage, the camera next to the girl, and then apparently the guy is standing off to the side filming the woman, even though whenever any other camera shows up, you don't see the other camera. Like, you know, it's like that, where, like, there's like that, well, in Devil Inside, there was, like, 3 to 4 other cameras that you have no idea where the fuck they come from. But, like, who's holding it and what is that, you know? So in the movie, you see that, like, you know, he's a cop, but he's also trying to go and, like, you know, have a, like, study law and go on. And then they were like, oh, why do you have this camera? He's like, I also have taken an elective, so I just decided to take, like, film, and this is for a class kind of thing. Fine. At least he has a little bit more of an explanation of why he's just walking around with the camera. And it's also, like, you know, he was filming stuff, like, in, like, the little, like, squad room and stuff, and it's like, you really can't film that. There was a lot of things that were technically, like, not to code. Like how him and his partner just came out of the car, literally guns a-blazing. And you can do that if you were threatened upon. But you just stopped like, the way how it was done was, like, they stopped the car on, like, a routine stop kind of thing. But he just came out, like, the car with, like, you know, the gun already out of the holster in his hand. I'm like, you can't do that. You're being an idiot. That's not correct. You know, that's not what you're supposed to do. So yeah, the third camera, so in it, like, you've seen the trailer where he's like, oh yeah, blah, blah, and it's kind of like this weird kind of, like, it looks like a fisheye lens shot because it's like, he has the camera in, like, the little shelf thingy in the locker. He's like, I'm blah, 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 this is, my partner, blah, blah. And it does that, and then he also, like, they have, like, these little cameras that they clip onto, like, their shirts. So he has one, so it's kind of like a first person thing. There's one on him, there's one on his partner. Fine, that's fine. And he has this handheld one. So technically, yes, those are 3 cameras. But I'm only counting it when it's just the 2 of them talking. And there was one part where it's like Jake Gyllenhaal, his partner, and they're talking. So you got 2 cameras facing this one dude who's standing there. So he's talking. But then there's a reverse shot. Like, those 2 cameras are from, you can tell it's from, like, chest up, because the guy is, like, let's say this is the camera on the shirt, and the guy's, like, looking past it, like, dude, blah, 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 I'm talking to you over there, because your head is up here, not down here, this is your chest, but your head is up here, like, I'm talking to you, blah, blah, blah. Fine. That makes sense. So, it was fine when, you're filming this other cop, like, hey, I'm talking to you, I'm being blah, blah, blah. And, you get the 2 different angles, because you got him, you got Jake Gyllenhaal, you got the other guy, fine. But then you get the reverse shot of seeing Jake Gyllenhaal and his partner, and I'm like, where the fuck is that camera? Who's filming that? And it happened a couple times, like when they're in the squad room, you saw the camera, his camera, on the table, and you see him and his partner with like the shirt cameras, and you see like that footage, but then there's like another camera, and you see like a wide shot of the squad room, and they're kind of like standing like like it's one thing if it's like security cam, but it's like, it's kind of like it was handheld, it zoomed in and out and all that stuff, and you're like, what the hell, and this movie is sold in like a documentary style, so it's kind of like those cop shows, it's kind of like Cops, but at the same time it's like there's one part where the 2 of them run into a burning building, so would really a camera guy do that, kind of thing. And it's so funny because this movie on its own, like, story-wise, it's alright. It's not bad, it's not good, it's alright. But what's just bothering me about it is just that other camera. And I know it's really dumb to just kind of, like, harp on something like that. But it's like, don't. When you're kind of, when you're selling a movie like that. Like, I understand in other, like, found footage things, yeah, a couple times you see how, like, you would notice, like, if it's supposed to be that one camera, but then it's like, wait, did they do reshoots? Because it's like the guy would be sitting like this, and then, like, the next shot, he's, like, on the other side, but, like, you didn't run. Like, really, yeah. There's stuff like that, like, fine. Like, I remember seeing that in the first Paranormal Activity, where, like, the demonologist guy, he was, like, talking, and then it was just, like, different camera angle kind of thing. Fine, but fine. That is, like, fine, but it's, like, fine because you're still on that one subject, and it's still, like, technically you are that character, the audience is, with you kind of thing. But when you're doing, it's like if in Cloverfield or Paranormal Activity, where they're talking and the person's holding the camera, they're talking to them, and then all of a sudden there's a wide shot, and you see the 2 of them. Or you see the people, you just be like, well, where's that other camera coming from? At least with the movie Chronicle, they made the excuse, it wasn't like, they made the excuse so at least you could kind of accept it, where they had all like the helicopter footage, the dash cam footage, the security footage, like, because they're able to manipulate things, so then you're dragging other people's cell phone cameras, people's regular, like, point-and-shoot cameras, people's film cameras, all that stuff. You could get all this, so fine. That's it's understandable. It's still like it's a plot device that because the 2 of them are yelling at each other, floating in the air, and you got all these cameras surrounding them filming it. Fine, at least they had that. At least it kind of explained. You see other cameras filming. You know what I mean? So it explains it. Again, it's not like perfect. Although Chronicle is actually a lot more interesting movie because it had better character development than this movie, and the watch was just like 2 really, like, gung-ho fucking cop guys just wanting to shoot up. Like, I understand it's South Central and there's a lot of drugs, there's a lot of gangs and all that stuff, but they're being a little too, like, trigger happy, and so there's, and me being, like, a bit of, like a tactical nerd, too. Like, I don't know guns as well as I know knives. And there was one, of course I have, like, one of my shittiest knives, but there's one part where, Jake Gyllenhaal goes, like, standard, spider code, blah, 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 like, look how shitty this thing is. This was my first one. All my other ones are tucked away. Anyway, so, yeah, he's like, oh, this is my police, issued spider coat knife, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, that's not a spider coat knife. Don't fuck with me. That's a Smith & Wesson knife. I would know, because I own one of those as well, And I was just like, that's the wrong knife. And then, apparently the gun, because I even looked this up, like, because I'm thinking, like, if he said the knife wrong, he must have said the gun wrong. So yeah, the gun is actually, I think he said it was a, I forgot what type of gun. Again, I'm not really good with the handheld guns. I don't know those as well as, like, the big fuckers. Anyway, but it's the correct brand, but it's like the model is different. Like, I think he said like .11 or something. It's supposed to technically be like a .12, And I'm just like, ooh, it's like it's bad, especially because it's like you hold the thing like this close to the camera. He's like, yeah, and I got and he's like standard issue, knife, and he's like click, and he's like having it like mad close to the camera. Then he's got. So it's like he had the gun and he's like, this is, it's like if I held this up, I was like, this is, Nerf Maverick. You'd just be like, no, it's not, you dumb fuck. It was like that. And it was just like, I'm holding this, and then he's like, and then he was like, yeah, and this other thing I have, like, he has like this random thing. He's like, right here, you can break glass with this. And I was like, yeah, I have that on the back of one of my knives too, a glass breaker, shit happens. They're running into the burning building, trying to grab this woman's like babies out, while my friend kept making jokes about how the woman had nothing but crack babies. And so there's so much smoke, and they're crawling. This is crawling, right? Jerking two guys off at once. They're crawling on the carpet. So if you're crawling, if they're switching to the camera that's on their chest, you should see probably nothing. Or if they try to like get up a bit and they're a little bit above the floor, you'll just see like a little bit of light and then like just carpet. But no, apparently it's like you just see like Gyllenhaal's ass, because it's like the camera's attached to his face and the guy was like, I'm crawling behind you, buddy, I'll give you a colonoscopy, buddy, all that stuff. It was just like, where is this coming from? And then they had reverse shots too, where it's like Gyllenhaal's in the front, and then it's like the camera reversed, and you saw his partner, and you see his face like, oh man, and you're just like, where are these shots coming from? It's those things. Like, it's stupid to be annoyed or bothered by it, but if it takes you out of the movie, it does. It's one of those things where it's like and again, like, the story was like whatever. They. It's just so dumb, and of course they had like there was like the gang that like put a hit out on them. They're like, what was that, curbside street gang or something? They're like, curbside street, motherfucker, Bruno. And of course the chick held a gun like this. I was like, oh my god, you did not just hold the gun sideways. And of course, all those gang people died. And of course, like, plot-wise with a movie like this, they needed backup. Of course, the backup didn't come until, like, they're practically dead, Well, one of them ends up being dead. Of course, Gyllenhaal's not dead. But yeah, like, let's talk about slow response. Yeah. Anyway, I'm gonna get going. I'm just done. I'm done. I hate these movies so much.